Well, hello and welcome to the eCommerce podcast with me, your host, Matt Edmondson. The eCommerce podcast is all about helping you deliver e-commerce wow. Yes, it is. That's what we say. That's what we want to do. And to help us do just that, I'm chatting with my very special guest today, Rich Watson from Augmented Hype, about the amazing benefits of augmented reality marketing for e-commerce. Yes, you heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, the amazing benefits of augmented reality marketing for e-commerce. But before Rich and I jump into that conversation, let me suggest a few of the e-commerce podcast episodes that I think you'll enjoy listening to. We now have an extensive back catalogue, and I'm always amazed, actually, Rich. I don't know how many podcasts you've done, but I'm always amazed by the stats showing me how many people are listening to episodes from years ago, which is it's a beautiful thing. So check out How Not to Waste a Bunch of Money on Crappy Ads Campaigns with Jared Spywak. That was a great conversation. And Why You Should Stop Using Facebook Ads and Start Google Advertising with John Horn was also a good one. And you can find these and our entire archive of episodes on our website for free at ecommercepodcast.net. Now, this episode is brought to you by the e-commerce cohort, which helps you deliver e-commerce wow to your customers. Now, I don't know how long you have been in e-commerce, dear listener. Maybe you're starting out, maybe you're new to the whole thing, but it's a real issue trying to keep up, especially if you're working by yourself or working in a small team. So Cohort is here to solve that problem. It is a lightweight membership group with what we call guided monthly sprints that cycle through all the key areas of e-commerce. So every month they deep dive into a topic, an area. It may be marketing, it may be how to do augmented reality marketing, all those kind of things. The sole purpose of Cohort is to provide you with clear, actionable jobs to be done. You get to work with an awesome group of people. So it's just a great way to either get stuck into e-commerce or to make sure that you're continually growing and develop in this amazing area of life. So whether you're starting out or whether, like me, you're a bit of a dinosaur in e-commerce, check out ecommercecohorts.com, or you can email me directly at matt@ecommercepodcast.net with any questions that you have. Okay, so let's dive into today's guest. Rich Watson is a strong force in augmented reality marketing. He has spoken all over the world about the future of e-commerce and how it's going to be brought into Web 3.0. Rich has over 8 years of Facebook ad media buying experience, and he is an avid believer in non-fungible tokens and the metaverse. Although, Rich, when we were talking before we hit the button, you're like, people think that usually means buying pictures of monkeys, but you're more interested in the technology behind it, right?
Yeah, well, I was into NFTs, when the massive spike happened and everybody started making a lot of money, of course, because there's like such excitement to it. I was always interested in technology behind it. I'm interested in blockchain technology. I'm interested in Web3 in general. So, all these things sort of have more of a, future vision, whereas this buying and selling art thing, I don't know, I think it might die out, or it will just sort of shrink to a very, very small percentage of what it is now, essentially.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? If there is anybody out there listening and would like to buy any of my photos for a couple of 100,000, you're more than welcome. Just get in touch. We'll make it happen. But beyond that, I like you. I'm really fascinated by blockchain technology and how that all works. But I'm equally interested in your fascination with augmented reality. So tell me about Augmented Hype and what it does, what your company does, and why it does it.
Yeah, sure. So we help brands and agencies leverage augmented reality for their marketing. So I think a lot of people have heard of augmented reality. Most people have heard of Pokemon Go, for example, but they don't quite understand the connection between that, what the technology is, and how that can help them with, building this relationship with their customers, helping retain customers, getting better marketing performance. So that's really what we do. We sort of start to work with people. We focus on what their main bottlenecks are, and then we basically create a bespoke augmented reality experience to harness their goal and their objective they have.
So let's define right here at the start. I mean, you say most people know what augmented reality is because of Pokemon Go. If my mum was watching this podcast, she'd go, "I've no idea what Pokemon Go is." And I followed a link from your LinkedIn profile to I've got it here actually, an article that was posted on the Shopify website about augmented reality, and there's a little graph on there which tells me that the age of users, or where augmented reality is growing specifically, is in Gen Zs and millennials, those sort of age ranges, which makes sense because it's use of technology. So for the purposes of those who are maybe older than the millennial age, and like myself, or like my mum, have no idea what Pokemon Go is, just explain what augmented reality is and how is it different, if it is in fact different, from virtual reality?
That's a really good question. So augmented reality is essentially upgrading your immediate surroundings with digital assets. That's like the best, easiest way to explain it. And the way that differs from virtual reality is essentially, an entire environment that you're stepping into. Whereas augmented reality is just overlaying the one you're already in. So you just do that with glasses, and of course right now, the majority of the time it's phones. Whereas virtual reality, you obviously have to have a headset, which I got one of these right here. Actually, no, it's downstairs. But yeah, you have to have this big bulky headset on, and you're completely immersed in the world. Whereas augmented reality, it's something that comes into in front of you. You put it on yourself, you put it in your surroundings, and you can see what's going on around you. And there's another thing called mixed reality, which is essentially a mix between both of them. But if we go down that rabbit hole, it gets really confusing. It's essentially like AR onto VR, if that sort of makes sense.
Okay, so that's mixed reality. Learning all kinds of terms today, Mum, if you're listening to the show. Now, so what would be some examples of companies that have used AR well? So you talked about Pokemon Go. What are some other maybe well-known examples?
I think probably some of the biggest ones. So IKEA have used it quite extensively for a long time now. So they use it in many different types of ways. They use it to sort of visualize products in catalogs, but they also use it to enable you to have what's called a spatial AR experience. So it basically means it's within your space. I'm not sure if that's why it's called spatial, but anyway. And you can essentially have the product, the furniture within your space, and you can basically see what it's like in your house. Because that's the biggest thing is like, okay, well, I think that would look good in my living room, but I don't 100% know. So IKEA have definitely capitalized this on really, really well. Loads of other brands have used sort of gamified versions. So, McDonald's, Burger King, they tend to use it more for incentivizing gaming, maybe with some discount or something like that. So the game would just be something, like catching burgers in your mouth, something fun, something that's going to get engagement going. And then recently, Mini have used it really well for showing you their latest hatchback, I believe, is one of the Mini one, the sort of standard model they have. And essentially you can plonk a Mini down in your living room and you can go through all the different colors and really visualize what it's like. So it's used quite a lot it's sort of like visualizing something in your space, which is essentially like one key part of it, but it's not really the only part. But a lot of brands know that that's what people are expecting to use it for. So that's sort of what they go into. Not a lot of people have explored the realms of what really could actually be done with it and how you could dig into it a bit more, because it's so new and everyone's a little bit more wary of it as a new technology. So that's like part of my mission, is to show everyone all the different ways it can be used and how that can benefit your businesses, other than just seeing something in front of you, which is of course cool, but it's not the only way.
Yeah, no, and we'll get into that. But let me just deal with this at the moment. So I can, using the IKEA app or the website, I can sit there with my phone or my iPad. I can put the camera on. I can be in my living room and see the living room on my screen, on my iPad or on my phone and then I can overlay furniture from IKEA, and IKEA, using the technology on the iPad and the phone, will figure out the right dimensions and so on and so forth. And you can virtually place the chair or the sofa in the corner, and you can kind of get an idea of what it's like. When I was in the beauty business, we saw companies like, was it Maybelline that did the shades of lipstick one, and you could try on different shades of lipstick. just with, by pointing the camera at yourself and you can see what you look like with the different shades of lipstick. I've seen that the sunglasses one was probably the most obvious one. What do you look like in these glasses? Warby Parker, I think, have used that, haven't they? So I get that you can use now your phone and you can use the technology to try things on or to see things in your space. I guess my first question here, Rich, right at the basic level of that is, let's say I'm a guy who's handcrafting furniture and I sell the pieces online. I'm going to look at the IKEA website and go, there's no way I can compete, or there's no way I can offer augmented reality, because it just instantly feels like I don't know the technology, and surely that's got to be expensive to get done, right? I need a whole stream of developers. I don't know if that's actually the case or true. Maybe you could speak to that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that's one of the biggest things that holds people back as well, is this assumption that you have to have an app, because that's always how it's been done. And that's obviously how IKEA are doing it. But not only is it becoming more, there's more creators. So it means that there's a lot those different ways of using it, but also different platforms are utilizing it. So of course we have social, we have web AR, obviously app-based AR, and these are three completely different ways of like housing the AR essentially. And leveraging social obviously means there's already an audience of, for example, Meta, 5 billion people. Is it 5 billion? Yeah, something like that.
There's a lot.
That sounds like
there's a fair few. Yeah.
Maybe it's 1 billion. I've forgotten that. But yeah, like there's obviously a lot of people on there. But whereas if you're creating an app or something, you have to be IKEA for people to actually download it and see it. Otherwise, it's a bit like, oh, I'm throwing a birthday party and I'm going to put the invitation on a tree in the middle of a forest. No one's going to see it, right?
Yeah.
So we're leveraging things like Spark AR, which is Meta's AR platform. It means all these people can see it. But not only that, it makes it way more affordable, because you can essentially work with one or two creators, depending on how your concept is or how complex the assets are, etc. And you can have something really visually striking and really engaging created on a platform where you run ads already. These are things that people aren't even aware of. They think to use AR, we have to have it on the website, we have to have an app. But I'm sort of, and others like me are saying there's social AR, which is not just Snapchat and Instagram, bunny ears. It's like ways of using AR. And this is what speaks to, you're going over the stats of like the Shopify, I think it's the Shopify eCommerce 3D versus 2D stats, and they're talking about AR. And of course, Gen Z and millennials are the people who use it the most, and that's because of the exposure. So the way that AR has been used so far has been for face filters, and those are doing it. But as adoption of AR goes on and we start seeing more ways of using it, a lot more people will be able to use it. Older people will be able to use it and understand it more, and it will be more relevant to them. So so going back to your question, it's becoming a lot more affordable, and it's becoming a lot more accessible. So you're not just having, I'm not a big enough brand to create an app. You can do that, of course, but what I'm saying is you don't need to do that. You just need to have a problem and a creative to solve it, which is going to be AR.
Okay. So actually then the technology is becoming more and more accessible. It's a bit like years ago in e-commerce. I remember the first hoo-ha about you've got to have video, to survive in e-commerce. And you kind of like, I remember those cries. I mean, video is such a commonplace thing now. Everyone's live streaming. They're doing live shopping now. Everyone's doing like their own mini QVC channel. So it's interesting how commonplace video is in e-commerce. So is this where you see augmented reality sort of heading? It's sort of going to become quite commonplace?
I think it's probably a matter of time, but it's also a matter of technology. And I do definitely think that the growing adoption with devices, for mobile devices, is going to happen before glasses are more commonplace. But I do think it's going to probably take glasses to replace things like video. And I don't think video is ever going to disappear. Like, it's not going to. This is the main thing when I'm talking to people, e-commerce people, marketers. They're like, oh, should I use it? What's the metrics versus a video? And it's like, well, it shouldn't be versus. It should be all in your arsenal. You don't go and get a photographer to do some photos and then just throw the rest of the creative out. It's all complementing each other. It all reaches people with different sort of interests, etc. So it could make it a little bit more redundant later down the line, but I think it's going to take the actual glasses coming out and not being these huge, clunky, uncomfortable things, but something cool like Ray-Bans for people to sort of forget about video and so forth.
That's interesting, and it'd be like, I'm fascinated to see where it goes, and what you can do with it. And I'm intrigued by how people are using the technology now. I'm fascinated by the fact you talked about Spark AI, with the Spark AI, the sort of Facebook's version, or it's not Facebook now, is it? Meta's version of a platform which you can use, which makes it accessible now to the guy that's doing handcrafted furniture. He doesn't have to be IKEA anymore. Are there, I guess if I'm going back to the guy in the workshop doing handcrafted furniture, I've still got that barrier in my head, and it might not be cost. I mean, I don't know what costs are going to be, but I've still got that barrier in my head that actually I just don't get it. I don't understand it. So why should I think about this? Maybe let's talk about that. What are the benefits, I suppose, of augmented reality in marketing? Why should I think about it?
I think the biggest one that you can almost guarantee, obviously depending on what you're using as creative already, is the engagement. And part of it is because it's essentially immersing someone into the ad, so it feels completely personalized, essentially. And it's very hard now, especially with Meta, to personalize things with the lack of granular data we have.
Yeah.
So there's one, and you can't guarantee any sort of ROI and things like that, of course. Anyone who's guaranteeing that, you should run away. But things like engagement, you can guarantee almost because of the fact that it's a new technology and the fact that it's going to be ultimately thumb stopping. It's going to make people just take notice of it. So that's one of the biggest things to sort of overcome when you're doing ads anyway. And then the other things are the platform likes it. So if we're talking specifically about Meta, because that's really in my opinion, the best place to run augmented reality ads. You can run them on other platforms, Snapchat, for example, but the audience is a bit smaller. You're able to get, anyway, I sort of went off a trail, but now I remember what I was talking about. They prefer you staying
I do that all the time.
That's their goal, is like give people the best experience on the platform, and that's, and then we win. And what this does is the augmented reality keeps you on the platform for longer. So when you compare it to standard e-commerce video view time, you're probably looking at 6 to 30 seconds, something like that. Of course, it completely differs depending on the industry and things. But with augmented reality, we're seeing 60 seconds. We're seeing over a minute. And the reason is because it's you, or it's your space in it. And you're showing someone, you're like, oh, come look at this, all these sort of things. Again, because it's a fairly new technology, maybe there's a novelty aspect of it. But the fact that people have longer dwell time with the experience means the platform enjoying it, the CPMs drop down, and your ad costs are lower. And then you've also got really good engagement because it's a completely revolutionary creative. So all of those things complement each other. It's going to have better effects down the line. So that's definitely something to take notice of before everybody else does. And I obviously don't know when that's going to be, but I do think that we're seeing the initial bell curve, where it sort of dipped and it went down, and then we had COVID and everything became a little bit more accelerated. We're sort of getting past the sort of gradual part now, and we're seeing the acceleration of the adoption, which was in that graph before. Like, I think it was predicted to be 1 billion users this year, and it already passed 1 billion in June.
Wow.
So it's probably going to be 2. And then next year it's going to be maybe 2 and a bit, and then the year after that. So we're going to get, I think it's predicted to be 75% of the population using AI by 2025, based on that prediction of that model. So, it's going to be a more commonplace thing than we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So
it's rapid growth, isn't it? I mean, it's massively rapid growth. And it's interesting you talked about how the benefits of using it in marketing. I like that. Obviously, one, it's going to increase engagement with customers. I get that. Does this furniture fit in my room? Yes or no? Yes, it does. Okay, I'll buy it. And you're kind of answering questions which everyone has, which stops people buying. You're removing the barriers to entry. Does this shade of lipstick look good on me? Do these glasses fit my face? all the stuff that's kind of stops you buying it, you're dealing with that in quite a clever way using technology. So I can see how engagement would increase. I can see how, whilst people can't guarantee return on investment, I can see how actually there are use cases where that would just go through the roof when using things like that. But I'm really intrigued by this comment you mentioned about how the platform Meta really likes it as well, because you're on it longer, and Meta is doing everything it can at the moment to try and keep you on the platform longer and longer as it's losing more and more market share. It is rapidly scrambling, isn't it? And so it is going to promote and use content which keeps people on the platform, and I don't think that can be understated or undervalued really at the moment. So I thought that was actually quite insightful. I like that. I've even noted it down in my little notebook, Rich. I'm still analog. Still analog.
Put 10 billion into it, a couple of years ago. VR and AR and XR, of course. But completely my opinion, they lost a lot of people with, first it was Cambridge Analytica, and then it was iOS 14. And of course, that's not their fault at all. That's not Apple. Who are also doing their own AR stuff, by the way, but that's another discussion. But the fact that they put all this money into it, I believe that they're trying to get the best ad platform for immersive marketing. So by immersive marketing, I mean marketing with AR, with VR, with XR. And the first to come out of all of that is AR, because it's just the metaverse we speak of as a VR one, whereas I think is an AR one, because it's going to enhance our actual reality first before we just jump into a Ready Player One world, and they know that too. So they're trying to bring the dominance back, because obviously TikTok are just smashing it at the moment. Most people I talk to are like, I don't do Facebook anymore, TikTok. Da, da, da. So that's why I think they're focusing a lot more on this, and they're putting a big bet on it. So that's why I think the platform is so ripe for the picking for people who want to look at this.
That's a very good point. I was listening to, well, this is slightly off topic. I was listening to someone talk about this, the big sort of TikTok versus Facebook debate, and how Facebook was built on the concept of the social graph, wasn't it? You have to be connected, and you go on there because of your social connections, and they're showing you less and less content to do with your social connections, and more of the stuff which people are paying for. So you've less and less reason to go on Facebook, and the same now actually with Instagram. Whereas TikTok was never built on the premise of a social graph. It was built on the premise of, we're going to entertain you very, very easily, and you're going to get sucked in way more than you think you're going to, but you're going to get sucked into this world of immersive sort of short clip videos. And I think I do find this scramble of Meta now quite fascinating, and how TikTok has sort of changed everything again. But they are two different platforms, and I'm kind of curious to see where it all goes. So let's get back to AR, augmented reality. So you mentioned that Meta is the best platform to start looking at and start doing stuff on, right? And there are certain industries, Rich, where I go, okay, I get it, I understand it. Furniture makes sense, makeup makes sense. But I have, let me ask you about this. How would it work for, say, this brand here, right? So this is a supplement brand, Vegetology's Omega 3, which is a vegan omega-3, right? And full disclosure, I'm part of this company, and it just happened to be on my desk, hence the reason I just picked it up. And I'm thinking to myself, how would I take advantage of something like that for a company like this, where it's maybe not as obvious what I should do?
I think so. I've seen some examples for fitness brands, and I'm completely pulling these concepts out of my mind right now, but it would be something to do with tying it into a routine. So what I'm thinking is gamifying it in a way where you, check in every day, and it tells you which day it is, and you're like, taking my pill or something like that. And it's sort of, you share that on social, and people can see that you've got this accountability or something like that. So it's quite difficult to come up with a concept straight from like nothing. But I think with something, it's really, I guess the AI should be based on the emotion you want them to feel. I mean, any advertising should be really, but you can have a much more powerful way of doing it if you can find that concept that works well. So usually whenever I work with someone who's a bit unsure about the concept, it's like, okay, what are you doing now? What works now? And it's like, we have people, I don't know, giving a gift to someone, and the experience of giving the gift is the thing that people want to enjoy. It's like, I've given you this gift, and then they're looking at you like, oh wow, this person really thought about me. They really. So then okay, how do I encapsulate that into AR? And that's the sort of concept they came up with, like a dream box that sort of opens and you tap on it, and the gift comes out. So maybe something around those lines, maybe gamifying it in some way, or giving some people some snippet of the emotion you want them to be having by using it. In this case, I guess motivation, staying vegan, making sure that you're taking care of your body, something like that. And also, there needs to be an element of showing off as well, because then that builds the social proof and the virality of it potentially as well.
So, okay, so the user needs to show off a little bit.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it could be influencers as well. I mean, this is right for the pick of influencers as well, because the organic reach can be absolutely massive on this. There was a guy made I talk about this all the time just because I'm dumbfounded by it, but this guy in Singapore called Eugene is founder of an AR firm called Dude. He created this Squid Game, which basically was the red light, green light game, and you are the person, and you move forwards, and then when the girl moves around, you stop, otherwise you die. That reached 500 million people organically as an AR experience. And anyone watching this or listening to this is probably remembering, oh yeah, I saw that. It was him. There was no paid ads or anything like that. So you can imagine that if you found something of that effect, obviously not copywriting anything, but if you found something of that, the amount of organic reach you get is huge. So I would probably go down that route for this, because this is more, it feels like more of a tribal thing. Like people want to be part of a community, things like that.
Well, okay. I'm sorry to throw you in at the deep end there. I just thought I was randomly pick up a product and see how we do. So gamify supplements. And what else have you seen work in the e-commerce space work well that listeners to the show kind of go, well, that makes sense for my business? Some of those ideas.
Quite a few. I guess the best ones really to mention are the ones that I can back with data. So I mean, we've got some case studies from myself, and there's some ones with Meta. There's a really good case study, 4 case studies given out from Meta. From Mini actually was one I already mentioned before, and then another one's Avon, and they used a game. They used a game basically to use theirs as well, and they all found so with these 4 examples. So the other 2, one was like an animation or an anime, I think from Korea. And then there's another one that was a social awareness or social impact group in somewhere in Eastern Europe. I don't remember the country now. But they found when these companies were running ads themselves. So the actual examples are all very different. So they don't all tie in. But the experiment they're trying to run is, okay, how does the cost compare when they run the AR with the business as usual campaigns? So they actually found that running this then compared to running business as usual alone, is they got a 59% decrease in ad inventory costs, just because of the massive engagement that was there. So I think probably I'll definitely share that if anyone wants to read that one. But for us, we've got a few case studies. So I'll probably talk about the most known one is the people that will probably be able to find more relevant is this glasses brand for babies. So it's called Babyators. They have UV protection for children and babies.
Babyators. That's such a great name. It's such a cool name. If you're listening, Babyator, that's awesome. I like that. That's really cool.
Yeah, they're based all over the world, I think, and we just work with the ones in Australia. But essentially, before they were having all their ad creative was really awesome photos, like really good photography, really pristine and clean and awesome looking. But there wasn't a lot of, there wasn't like native feel to it. There wasn't UGC. They didn't have a lot of that. So they wanted to be able to create something that created UGC, but also just made some of the objections they were getting, or some of the, I guess, like things that were turning people off when they're buying it, make it a bit easier. And the most common questions they found is styling, sizing, things like that. Like, is this going to look good on my baby, basically? Because it's hard to tell. So that's where AR came in and completely, improved everything, like drastically, because you can actually experience it. So what we created was we created a 4-way split where you can try 4 different pairs on and tap onto one and it zooms it in to full screen. And it could be essentially, if you have your child there, you could just do a selfie, or you could just do back camera if you wanted, so you can see what it looks like on there. And what they found was actually they got increase in average order value of I think it was over 50%, because people, instead of buying 2 pairs, they were buying 4 now.
Right, of course, yeah.
4. And then they're like, oh, I wouldn't have thought that would look good, and it did. So people would increase that, and that led to them getting, I think, 44% increase in return on ad spend. So now we are also, not only that, but they were also creating UGC from this. So if people were sending videos, they had an incentive like, hey, send this in to us and you get entered into this competition. So people were sending in videos, and we actually used that as the ad creative to pull people into the AR experience. So it was like free ad creative as well.
Really clever. Yeah,
it was a really cool campaign, that one. I talk about that one quite a lot, and there's a bit more information in some content I've done if anyone wants more context on that one.
So Babyators, are they still running that campaign, or is it just like a temporary thing?
They've still got so you can, when you upload in Meta, you can upload the AR as AR ad or as an AR experience, and when it's an experience, it lives in the back of Instagram and in Facebook, but it's still in the back of their Instagram. So I think they can still use it. This is the beautiful thing. You have one AR asset created, you can use in ads. You can also use it in all your organic stuff. I mean, that's the same as all creative, right? But for example, with this, you would just send it to your email list and go, hey guys, check this out, and then tell us what you think, or send us a video and we enter you into this. You can do it in Messenger. You could just do it on your website. You can have a link to it, all these sort of things. So they're still using it, I think, organically to be able to run it. But in terms of actually finding people's ads that are AR, you can't actually find them unless they actually come up on your feed organically. You can't go to ads library, for example, and search, which is really frustrating because I wish you could.
They don't come up in ads. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, only if it actually organically comes up in your, not organically, you know what I mean? If it comes up in your feed, then that's how you see AR ads. But most people haven't really seen them because not many people are using them unless they're big brands.
Yeah.
Sometimes at like Christmas time, Black Friday, you see a few, but it's not a hugely used creative, unfortunately.
Where Black Friday questions, I'm curious. Have you seen any good examples of AR used around Black Friday that made you kind of go, that's really clever, that's well thought through?
Yeah, so there was one from Boohoo. They used it. It was basically a game, like a hacking game, and it had a location-based AR element to it, and it's called Hack Friday. And the whole idea of it was, I think you basically went to this location and there was a Boohoo board, and you would have your phone and look up at it, and it would give you some Easter egg or something, and then you would send it to them to say, oh, I've seen whatever it is. So it's almost like an Easter hunt, like a treasure, and then you do it with them. That was pretty cool. And then there's another one called Goat, which was a similar idea, but the idea for them was to find these, like, I think they're a sneaker brand. And the idea was to go to these locations and find these like hidden sneakers somewhere. So both of these were very soon after Pokemon Go. So everyone was like, oh, that was such a good concept. So all the marketing people went, right, how do we use that concept for our brand? And that's just one section. Yeah. That's what I was saying. Just it being a visual thing, it can also be this gamified thing. It can also be more of an interactive thing, all these things. So yeah, those are the only 2 examples I've seen for Black Friday specifically, but they both smashed it for them. I think they had really, really good results on that. And I just did a video on Black Friday, actually, where I think I talked through it in a bit more detail. So if anyone wants to have a look at that, it's on my socials and stuff.
Okay. And we will link to all of those, of course, in the show notes, so which will be available on the website. So we'll put all the links in there. Chris, it's really... Rich, I don't know why I said Chris. I'm just thinking of Christmas is what I'm thinking of now. You've got me Black Friday and I'm thinking Christmas. Do I do an augmented reality where someone dresses up as Santa Claus? I'm sitting here listening to you, and actually, as an e-commerce entrepreneur myself, running an e-commerce business, right? My mindset is kind of like, this is really cool. If I could figure out a way to make this work, I can see that there's a lot of benefits here. So how do I get started? Where do I begin? Because this is all, like you say, there's 4 people in the world that seem to know about it. You're one of them. It's kind of like, how do we get started? How do we begin if we want to start heading down this road?
I think the best way to start is, where is your bottleneck? Like, what is the thing you're trying to achieve? So there's, obviously, I'll give an example of something that helped with AOV. That was that main focus of that one.
Mm-hmm.
We've also worked with people who have problems with really low engagement. So the main focus was, okay, get people engaging. We've had things where people wanted the granular data, so we kept the dwell time longer. So it's like something that keeps people more engaged for a longer time. So whatever that focus is, you can also, so obviously we talked a lot about social AR, but you can also be using AR for your site. You actually, product visualizations is most of the time like what people use
Yeah.
AR and 3D on the site. But then you can also use it post-purchase. So I called it post-purchase AR, and I don't know what everyone else calls it, but essentially it can be giving people extra utility on their product. And the way that can be envisaged is, a manual to teach people how to use the product properly, or how to maintain it, or give them some sort of game to make it even extra more fun. This is used a lot in, kids' toys and education and stuff like that. And a lot of things have shown that, studies have shown that people actually, the customer service queries drop because you're showing people how to use things and they're actually looking at them. Because, when you get people a manual, they're not going to bother looking at it. It's a bit boring bit of paper. But if you turn it into something more immersive, and, for example, if it's a car and you have an AR experience in your car to show people where everything is that they need to know and all the latest gadgets and everything like that, they're actually going to look at it and use it. And then there's going to be less issues when they get buyer's remorse. Oh, I don't know how to use this. It doesn't work. Blah, blah, blah. So there's loads of ways you can basically use it. So going back to your question, it's really about what's the area that your first bottleneck is, or the biggest one. What sort of creative are you using that works well now? And also have a look at people within your industry directly, or who are marketing to your market, and see if anyone's done any AR that's relevant to what you're sort of doing. And just looking at more examples, and of course, hopefully, like me talking and us sharing these ideas, it starts to get the cogs turning a little bit in your mind. You're like, okay, well, actually, I could see that, and then it's just a matter of matching the idea with the capabilities of AR, because it's not 100% there yet. Well, I don't know. That doesn't really make any sense, I guess. How can it be 100% ever there? There's always going to be different development. You know what I mean? Like, for example,
with tech,
is not great yet. So if you're a clothing brand, the way we've got around it is actually creating a virtual mannequin where you can try different outfits on them. But if you want to try clothes on yourself, it looks a bit funky. Not gonna lie. The facial tracking, the hand tracking, the foot tracking, things like that, really good. Like you most of the time you can't tell it's not real. That's the thing. But there's still limitations to it. So know the limitations as well, because then you can avoid pushing your creator too hard, because that can happen a lot. It's like, I want this to happen. It's like, well, there isn't technology that does that yet. But creators like, they always try and just do everything you tell you. Like, yeah, I'll just do it. That's fine. And then, that thing I was saying earlier, like, what's the experience you want them to have? Like, how do you want them feeling being in the AR experience? And what's the customer journey afterwards as well? So I think once you've thought those, 4 things, you can approach somebody who creates AR, for example, Augmented Hype, and sort of share your ideas, share your brands, share the creatives that are working well and have worked well in the past, or that, Q4 creatives that work well in the past. And then from that, you basically create a few concept ideas and then approve 1 or 2 or many of them. And then putting them in place and start activating them and start reaping the benefits.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. So, Richard, listen, I'm aware of time, and it seems to be getting away from us, but I appreciate that. Let me ask you a question. You've got on your virtual reality headset. You're virtually in a crowd of people. You've delivered your keynote talk on how to do augmented reality marketing to either eCommerce cohort guys, because they sponsor the show. So why not? Let's bring them in. And they're virtually stood up on their feet, giving you a round of applause, and a crowd's going wild. Yeah, go rich. And you come back on stage and you'd say, hey, listen, thanks for that. I would just like to thank ... Who would you thank? A person, a book, a podcast, a film? What springs to mind? Who would you thank? Who would you mention?
I was thinking just a person, but now I'm thinking a person and a book because of what you said. So I think the book would be, it doesn't really sound like anything to do with what we were talking about, but Built to Sell was probably one of the most powerful books I've read. And it's just about taking yourself out of the implementation and trying to be the brain of the body not trying to be the arms and the legs and everything else as well. So even if your idea isn't to sell your business within 5 years, having that in, what the book tells you to do in place means that you can drive the vision. And that's the one thing I see with agency owners and business owners in general finding it hard to do. They're just still in the weeds, doing stuff, and then everything just goes over their head. So that was really powerful. And in terms of person, I think Casey Millhouse, who's my AR mentor, essentially, she now works at Meta. She showed me the ropes of augmented reality, and when I didn't realize it was even a possibility, apart from I'd already started running some AR ads just to test them out. She took me under her wing and showed me what AR can do for marketing. And since then, it's just been an obsession of mine. So, I owe it all to her, basically.
Fantastic. Well, Casey, if you're listening, thank you, because it meant that we got this episode, and I'm really intrigued by it. And it's, I have to be honest with you, I've not got involved yet with AR marketing. And what you have done, Rich, is you have sparked something in my imagination, which is there's 40,000 questions now in the back of my head about the whole thing, which I'm kind of like, well, let's start looking into this. Let's start finding out. So I liked your points on terms of how to get started. And so we're going to look at that. What about you guys listening to the podcast? Are you intrigued by it? And what are your plans? Let us know. Rich, listen, if people listening to the show want to reach out, they want to get in touch with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, I think so. I have a free Facebook group called AR Ad Strategies, which you can join absolutely free. It's mainly for marketers and for agencies and for brand owners. And there I just give you all the juice, all the information I have, to start these ideas going in your head. And, that's really the best place to sort of start, firing off questions. We've got other agency owners in there, brands who've all done AR. So, this is community of people who are sort of at the forefront, and they're all testing it out and had great success with it and sharing that with others. So I think that's probably the best place. Other than that, I share a lot on socials. So my Facebook, my LinkedIn, or my Instagram is probably the best to learn a little bit more.
Fantastic. We will, of course, link to all of those in the show notes. But the Facebook group, I'm going to go join AR Ad. Is that what the Facebook group's called? AR Ad Strategies?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, we'll go search that and see what comes up. Rich, listen, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a phenomenal conversation. I've really enjoyed it. And so really, really helpful. Yeah, thank you for being with us. It's been great, absolutely great. So a big shout out again to today's show sponsor, the e-commerce cohort. Do head over to ecommercecohort.com for more information about this new type of community that you can join. Be sure to follow the e-commerce podcast wherever you get your podcasts from, because, well, we've got yet more great conversations lined up with people like Rich, and I don't want you to miss any of them. And in case no one, dear listener, has told you yet today, you, my friend, are awesome. Yes, you are. It's just a burden we all have to bear. It's just the way we've been made. We are awesome people. The e-commerce podcast is produced by Orion Media. You can find our entire archive of episodes on your favorite podcast app. The team that makes this show possible is Sadaf Bainon, Josh Catchpole, Estella Robin, and Tim Johnson. Our theme song has been written by Josh Edmondson and my good self. And as I mentioned, if you would like to read the transcript or show notes from today, head over to the website ecommercepodcast.net, where, coincidentally, you can also sign up for the newsletter. So that's it from me. That's it from Rich. Thank you for joining us. Have a fantastic week wherever you are in the world. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.